Black Rifle Coffee, baby. Freedom fuel.
No, we're rolling.
Yeah, I know, but what are you doing sitting over there?
Yeah, I'm just listening.
Yeah, he just listens.
I don't
to
like
the
it.
podcast.
I can like turn my back.
That would be better.
What's your take on the new administration, on like who has been appointed so far? And I'm more interested as to, do you like where it's headed? Do you not like where it's headed? Like, are you cautiously optimistic?
I don't know if you know this, but I am an expert in politics.
You are an expert, and that's why I like talking to you about this, because you're a fucking expert.
I can see so many different ways to look at it. The way in my heart of hearts that I want to look at it is, the more furious people get about a potential selection, maybe that's a good thing.
Right.
Why are they so furious? Like, I don't know anything about, I've met Tulsi. She is awesome. Mm-hmm. She is the worst Russian secret agent ever, right? If she was a Russian asset,
the worst,
the fucking absolute consumer-facing worst. How that narrative has survived, I don't know. So I've met her. Awesome. I haven't met any of the other ones. But like Secretary of Defense, people are freaking out about his age. The fact that he wasn't a 4-star fill in the blank, which I actually think maybe should be disqualifying if you were a 4-star fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. Man, people are up in arms. We were talking about this before Heston showed up late and hit the record button. Yes. The way I look at how the election played itself out is that the average person's, whether they said it out loud or not, because I love polls, because I look at them as comedy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because how anybody has a job anymore in polling is fucking beyond me.
Yeah, I know.
How many phone calls and texts were you getting prior to the election?
Every day, 10, 15 a day.
Yeah. We were getting people knocking on our door. Mm-hmm. I'm not the target audience for somebody on a phone or knocking on my door, because I'll waste your fucking time. Mm-hmm. If you're going to waste my time, I'm going to waste your time. So I would talk with these people that all they wanted to know is who I was going to vote for. And I don't feel comfortable telling you about that. And so they'd ask me other questions and I'd answer those. And they'd come back to, but who are you going to vote for? I'm like, I don't feel comfortable sharing that information. I'm talking 20, 30 minutes dragging this shit out. The average person, I think, was so exhausted by the election cycle. And I believe, and this is only my opinion and it counts for nothing, I believe that the average person is very silent. I think that the fringes of both the left and the right are very vocal, but the average person in the middle is quiet, but they're super tired of being fucked with. Mm. And they're super tired of being told that they're not smart enough, that they're a racist, that they're a bigot, that they're a misogynist, that they're a fill in the blank. And they also don't like the direction that the country seemed to be heading, whether it's in cancel culture, progressive culture, whatever it is. And they voted very quietly, and the results are what they are. There was a change in direction for sure. And I think that's just your average person saying, hey, I've had enough. I want to see something different. And it leaves me optimistic. I'm not even cautiously optimistic. I'm just optimistic. I'm just optimistic.
What do you think then about the proposed cuts in the federal government that the Doge, so Vivek and Elon.
You think it's accidental they called it that? Are they trying to do a pump and dump scheme on the Dogecoin? I mean, let's talk about this for a second.
This is the age of very intelligent people that are extremely successful trolls, basically taking that same posture into politics, saying, okay, motherfuckers, like this entire thing around, like, and I've heard it, that Elon, and you hear it from the left, Elon is an idiot. It is one of the most disqualifying statements any stupid person could ever say. What metric
are they using?
Exactly. So you're talking about one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest man in the world, that's launching rockets, that's built multiple different businesses that probably has 40 points of IQ at least on the average person in America, which, by the way, a 40-point differentiation between the average American and we'll just say like 100 to 40, which is 60, means that's the difference between an average person talking to somebody that is mentally handicapped. So the person that is typically reporting on that, talking about how Elon is an idiot, might have a 40-point IQ differential in there, which means this is like an ape discussing the person that invented the car is an idiot. That's the rough equivalent. And I don't think that a person that reads a teleprompter for MSNBC that might have went to a decent school that understands how to read and regurgitate information, I don't think they qualify as any form of intellectual,
Why can't they just say they don't like him? That'd be more honest.
It would be more honest, but they're not honest. I see like mid-level bureaucrats and high-level bureaucrats and news commentators. They're the same being, actually. They're the same person. They have a high enough IQ to go to the right schools. They have like very extreme fear-based decision making, meaning they have to create a sanctuary for themselves where rote repetition becomes their sanctuary. And then because of this, they can continue to regurgitate talking points. What that does is it reinforces their own safety narrative and allows them to sit on a pedestal of superiority across the regular human, the regular American. So they can talk to the person that's driving a combine or, the guy that's like the plumber or the electrician or the cop, and they talk about these people with such a level of disdain because they went to a different school, right?
Or didn't go to a school.
And I think growing up in a background with people, my dad was a welder and he could make things that engineers couldn't actually make.
Yeah.
Like even though they went and maybe had a master's degree in engineering, they didn't really understand applied physics. And he had the ability to understand the relationship of like weight and gravity and how things could need to be reinforced. Now, could he do and backfill the math associated with it? No, but he could build it. There's a difference between applied IQ and we'll just call it like standard intelligence based on education.
Yeah, you're talking about the difference between education and intelligence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you were talking about this on Twitter. What was that comment that guy made that you replied to? And I know you've been very active on Twitter.
So I've been slightly more active than I have before.
Which is super fun to see, by the way. Because what were you talking about?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. What was it?
No, I don't.
There was a comment somebody made, and you
Deep Thoughts by Andy are about a half an inch thick. All right, they're not that fucking deep.
Deep Thoughts by Andy.
No, it happens all the time. People confuse educated with intelligent, and they're often not found in the same person.
They're not.
Like the person you're talking about. First off, how long do you think you would last as a news anchor? I've thought about this. How long do you? I mean, I could read the teleprompter, but I know I would go off script. I know how long I think I would make it, but how long do you think you would make it?
Me?
Yeah.
I could make it. I think I could make it.
I don't think I would make it one pay period.
It depends on the level of stress associated with the event. So if there was like I was held captive or my family was held captive, I could do it for an extended period of time. Now, given the fact that I would just like step into this situation, I would never do it. I would last like 3 seconds. And I'd be like, fuck it. Let's go. Hey, anyway, so I was thinking about this idea. It was
less than one pay period is what I think I would make
100%.
it. 100%.
Yeah.
I think people should be really cautious talking down to those that don't have an education, as if education is the keys to success in life. Because my dad was a brick mason. He did go to college, and then he taught PE. Yeah. Somehow his degree is in physical education, which in his genre was Magnum PI short shorts, a Dick Broom mustache, and white socks pulled up probably to near the kneecap,
with a whistle.
100%, and a roll of tape in his pocket that people are like, is that tape? What is that?
What is that?
Tiny, tiny red shorts. But he was a brick mason, and his father before him was a brick mason, and his father before him was a brick mason. And the same thing. They didn't have an engineering background, but I have watched my dad build some of the most amazing shit with his hands. I can't do it. I worked with him for 6 or 7 years before I went into the military, and In all the trades that I ever interacted with, they are some of the smartest, most capable people. And yeah, they don't have a piece of paper that says that they went to a college and got the requisite amount of courses and credits. You talk down about those people, those are the people that keep the fucking world spinning.
Yeah.
And you got to use that shit with real caution.
There's a guy, he's relatively famous. He has the highest IQ in the United States, and he was a bouncer. Literally, that's what he did. And
Okay.
he got disappointed in the education system early on. He left academia because it was basically professors weren't answering the questions that he wanted answered. And he went off to basically say, listen, libraries are free. I can learn whatever the fuck I want to learn. And I don't really need a professor that's going to limit what I can or cannot learn. And if they can't even understand the questions that I'm asking them, then I'll go find a job that I can work. And then also I can elevate knowledge based on my individual motivation. So I think that that's a really important differentiation, which is there is a very distinct difference between what I would say is liberal arts, academically educated, and intelligence. Because I know a ton of guys that, we were in the military with them. And I was telling somebody else's story not too long ago where I was in college and then I went to the Q course, basically right after one another. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going there with a bunch of enlisted guys. I'm going to have this very distinct edge going through this course. And I didn't. Actually, there were like plenty of guys that were crushing the actual test because
The Q course test?
You have to learn Morse code and you have to learn Morse
No
code.
way.
Oh yeah, back in the day, dude. Yeah, bro. I think it was like 20 words a minute, whatever.
I know did.
I definitely don't want to misrepresent
Yeah.
what I
Don't steal valor.
don't steal
valor.
Like, and definitely don't talk about words per minute. I don't want to. I don't even want to talk about the details. But associated with this,
That's all I know.
In it, and I met this my really really close friend there. That's still like very close friend of mine, and he was an E6 coming out of the 82nd Airborne. And he went on to become the sergeant major of Joe Kent's previous unit. But that guy did have a college degree.
Yeah.
But he could do circles around me, in anything in any academic pursuit, like in memorization and just like consuming information and then being able to physically perform under pressure. He could do anything and everything absolutely better. Like there's zero doubt in my mind that there was basically two things I could beat him at. And it was, I could run faster and I might be able to shoot better. And I was like, those are my two things.
Yeah.
But that guy didn't have a degree, but he ended up going to the farm. Like he ended up going like doing all kinds of different things.
Was he like growing like carrots and stuff?
Yes. Yeah.
That farm?
But my point in that is like, now you being 47 years old, understanding there is a very distinct difference between somebody that went to school for 6 years and got a liberal arts degree, sank themselves in $80,000 or $100,000 worth of debt.
Probably more than that.
Yeah, more than that. Got a fucking English degree, and now they're waiting tables at a restaurant. And the guy that went to a professional trade school, got out, did a journeymanship, and then is making $80,000 to $130,000 a year as they got out. And now, yes, one is very distinctly different, and maybe one can, proofread and edit a paper better, and might understand the nuanced difference between feudalism and existentialism. But where the fuck are you really going to use that in your everyday life versus a guy that can like wire a fucking house the correct way, or a person that can like plumb a house? That's always been, I think, an emotional hang up for me, growing up in a household of like blue collar labor industry folks, because I love my family. And there's always been this separation between the educated and the, what I would say is the professionally skilled trade the professional skill trade and the academically educated, because one thinks they're distinctly better than the other, because there has been this propaganda, I think, that has been put out by the academic institutions, because it is a business, by the way. And just because you have, a political science degree or an English degree or, name the liberal arts fucking degree, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make more money. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be more successful in life. It just means that you have a fucking degree. Now, if you want to get into engineering,
surgery,
or medicine or something like that, but that's more of a academic professional, right?
What do you think about the desire to forgive student loans?
Oh, I fucking hate that idea so much. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I have a hard time aligning with that as well. I think we should, it goes actually almost goes back to your question about Vivek and Elon and Doge. That system needs to be looked at. It's fucking predatory.
Oh yeah.
They will give you money and it's on a criteria that you and I would never have money loaned to us for the rest of our fucking life. No ability, no desire, no need for them to show an ability to repay it, but we'll give you over 6 figures of debt before you're even 20 years old. You can't get rid of it with bankruptcy. I mean, and for people who are saddled with that debt, I understand the shiny object of somebody saying, hey, we'll forgive this for you. I hope that you do the next step and research what that actually means. And that just means that other people are paying for it, and that's where I have a really hard time.
And how is that fair? In any circumstance, how is it fair for, and I saw this, right? You see these people and they take, 6 or 7 years to finish a bullshit degree. They spend most of their time basically smoking dope and getting drunk and fucking hanging out for 3 years, living in a fraternity or the dorms or living off campus. And they're like half in, half out. They're getting fucking fat and they're actually getting dumber. But then eventually they get out with this piece of paper and they've got 6 figures of debt. And then they go on to do a bunch of other bullshit jobs that really don't pay them enough money to elevate
super
their
judgmental
economic circumstance. And then what it is it comes down to, oh, wait, we're going to ask the blue collar, hardworking Americans, the guys that actually went to work, didn't saddle themselves with a ton of fucking debt. And oh, by the way, find me a fucking software engineer or a mechanical engineer that still has student debt in this country after fucking 10 years of working in the professional workplace. Oh, wait, they probably don't have it because in order to be recruited and then pulled into those companies, you have to pay them a lot of fucking money. So they've made this very distinct life choice to go into a profession that pays them more money, which is also more difficult. Or you have the other side where it's like, I'm going to go research, 18th century fucking basket weaving from the indigenous tribe of fucking wherever, and I'm going to spend my life's work thinking about this, writing about this, and then all of a sudden it becomes the guys that went to welding school, that's their responsibility to pay for their academic pursuits. To me, there's one distinct difference. This is a choice that they're making in their life to do this versus somebody that's saying, I don't really have a choice. I have to feed my family. I have to get up every day, perform my duty as a man or a woman or a dog. I don't know. And now you're going into a professional work track that will pay you enough money to not only live, but also pay back your debt versus the other people are like, oh, fuck it. I'm going to go do something else. I think it's very obvious to me. It's so fucking wrong.
Well, it ties back in, like I said, to the Doge stuff, because people will say, well, what does it fucking matter anyway? Because we're playing for all these other bloated systems as well. So even though, let's say it's not forgiven, the taxpayer's paying for so much additional, which I agree with in concept. How much of the 100% pie of the government do you think that they could actually trim off without augering it in?
50%.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
50%.
How fast do you think they'll actually be able to do it though? Because my understanding is, my understanding is that Trump essentially said that Doge will only exist until 4th of July, 2026, the 250th anniversary.
Right.
I don't think they can get it done in that time.
I don't think they can.
They might be able to identify the work that could be done.
Right.
I'll be honest, I don't in the 4 years that Trump will have?
I think he realistically has 2 years, meaning
Before the midterms?
yeah, because you're gonna have midterms, and then
I don't know if you can carve it by 50% in 2 years.
I think you can put a big dent in it. So
Yeah.
even if they accomplish what I would say is a 10% reduction, they've still done more than we'll say the previous fucking 4 administrations have done, because they've just continued to increase and then put more debt, more responsibility on the middle class. And this is the way I look at it, is like, obviously the wealthy in this country, we'll call it the top 10% of the overall wealth of the United States. Like they do pay a significant amount in taxes, but they also have their voice represented in Washington. And then you have, we'll call them the last 10%, which they don't pay a lot in taxes, but they also have their voice directly represented in Washington, because you have a huge percentage of those people. So it's like this 90-10 split, right? Where the middle class gets squeezed, and they don't actually have the representation in Washington that I think the top 10 and the bottom 10%, because the bottom 10% is much bigger. The middle class gets squeezed by both their representation, because they're the silent majority. I think you have mid and upper class, we'll call it, from $100,000 to $300,000. Like that class gets just squeezed out. And I think they get saddled with the majority of the economic responsibility, because those are the people that are working every day. They've got bigger fish to fry. They've got their triage, meaning their priorities, that they go to work every day thinking about to like feed their families, put their kids in school, do the whole thing. And I'm not saying that the top 10% or the bottom 10%, they don't do that. But this middle class has just been absolutely saddled with the most of the financial responsibility. And then when they get out, when they're like, well, I'm going to, retire and, I'll subsidize myself with Social Security, they're not represented. They're not represented because the top 10% and the bottom 10%, they've been more represented and taken care of from the political perspective. And then they keep kicking the can with the debt. Like the middle class pays, the middle and lower class, like we pay for, a huge percentage of the debt. We pay for a huge percentage of the wars with both our blood and our treasure. Like we just get fucked.
What do you think about a flat tax?
I don't know if it works economically. I haven't done the numbers on it. And ideally, I think it's a great idea. I think it's like this sliding scale as to the direct percentage to people that and how much they pay. I think it definitely works. I actually am probably more open to the idea that you have some type of national service that allows you to come in, serve the United States for 2 to 4 years. And that means that you can pay less. So if you went in and you're like, I'm going to spend 2 years in national service, and you could go a combination of ways, right? You could go to the mill, you could go to the Peace Corps, you could go like fix roads.
Doctors Without Borders,
right? Like,
I've been a supporter of that concept for a long time, yeah.
And then if you don't do that, you just pay more in taxes. It's fine.
Interesting.
Like you basically get a 5% tax reduction for the rest of your life.
Have you seen the increase in just straight words in the tax code over the years?
Oh yeah.
Is it like
it's like an encyclopedia,
fuck
dude.
Yeah.
Well, they make it so complicated.
Well, that's
you
why
have to hire more people.
Yeah.
It's a self-licking ice cream cone.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I love this idea of being able to flush really bloated, incompetent bureaucrats out of the system.
Where would you start?
Where would I start? Most passionately, I would start with the IRS and the ATF. Equal.
Dude, the ATF is keeping us safe. I don't know if I can say that about the IRS.
Yeah. Like what somebody's.
I believe the current IRS tax bill of IRS employees is about $50 million of unpaid taxes.
Well, and that's about right. That seems accurate to me in the sense of rules for thee, not for me.
Well, I'm talking about the people who work for the IRS. They're just fucking people, man.
They're just people.
Yeah.
I think it's super funny though that we, instead of simplifying the tax code, and I know nothing about this, so I'm just completely talking out of my ass at this point. Let me preface this. I know fucking nothing about this other than like people, and it's so easy, right? It's so easy to like beat up the IRS and the ATF. It's so easy. there's a lot of things where I'm like, that just is ridiculous and it shouldn't exist, which the IRS should be looking at. How do we simplify the code so more people pay taxes and we have to hire more or less resources? That should be the reduction for efficiency, is how do we get more people paying their taxes? Because there's also a lot of people that are avoiding taxes. Just in general, there's a lot of people that just like try to avoid them. So maybe instead of hiring more people and making it more complicated, which then there's this, tit for tat type of thing where it's like, I'm going to make it more complicated. Cool. I'm going to create more, resources on my end to avoid them. Well, maybe what we should be doing is reducing the complexity, reducing the resources, and increasing the amount of people that are paying their taxes. That's what I would be looking for an efficiency perspective. But I know bureaucrats. I have an intimate knowledge of them and a profound amount of hatred for them. They don't look for the simplest option. Sometimes they look for the most complex option that allows them to increase their own budgets, their own authority. A bureaucrat, in the sense of like just general bureaucracies, they're very parasitical. They live on the host and they want the host to give them more. So you're always looking for more budget, more power, more control. And then you want to hire more people that are also very parasitical, at least in my mind. Now, I'm not saying all people who work for the government. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm saying there is a very specific, I don't know if we could do a DNA test for a person that's a bureaucrat, but there is a very specific person that is lazy, complacent.
Probably violates HIPAA regulations.
Right? I think like we do like a mouth swab for a bureaucrat and
I don't think
not allow them to procreate. That would be great. But
I think that crosses some
ATF's just
ethical boundaries.
Yeah, I think so.
You just like suppressors.
I do.
I actually think they should be mandatory, just for being a fucking gentleman on the range or hunting.
It's noise pollution. If anything, this is an environmental issue.
a sound environmental issue. Yeah,
it's noise
They're like
pollution.
the Teslas of guns.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
exactly.
They're not exactly as quiet, but. So you said you were driving around one of those cyber trucks.
Oh yeah. It's cool.
But you guys are giving it away though.
Yeah, no, I'm not ready to announce that, but yeah, we're going to.
So
give it away.
tell me about the giveaway.
Fuck off. And
with the Cybertruck.
So we're going to wrap it. We're going to mount a machine gun in the back of it, and we'll give it away in the next few months.
Does it come with the machine gun?
No, like unless you have an FFL, and then it probably will.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a legitimately enjoyable ride, though.
Listen, it is interesting. Just from I like supporting Tesla because I appreciate Elon, and I'm not everything that he does and says, but obviously I think the guy's
the innovation
brilliant, and I truly appreciate the fact that he spent a ton of money on this last election. I think directly saving our country, but that's my own 2 cents.
Why do you think he was jumping around on stage?
I think he's a nerd. And I think nerds get excited sometimes.
He was definitely excited. He was really getting after it. It made no sense, but I'm kind of here for that level of excitement.
I am. So we're giving it away next year in 25. It's cool, man. I don't like the shape at all. I think the exterior is so blatantly ugly that I could like
almost as if it's intentionally that way.
Crazy. Yeah, I think it is. And my point with this is he did something very intentional with that, which allowed people to talk and have a profound amount of hatred and a profound amount of love for it. But
either way, they were talking about it.
Either way, he wins. Yeah. It's a brilliant marketing move, which is he's selling a vehicle that is causing a conversation, and he's making money on the marketing of his product, which is brilliant. Like that's the 40-point differential where I'm going to make something so fucking stupid looking. People have to talk about it.
Put it on 1 year pre-order for 4 years.
Yes. You got to put money down.
$100.
And then I'm going to, it'll really work. It will be a real vehicle, and it's going to be the fastest fucking truck. It's going to be bulletproof. This is a marketing vehicle. Like, from my perspective, this is just about how do I build something that is only built to market my brand. It's brilliant.
I only get to mess around with Teslas when I do rental vehicles.
Oh yeah.
And so when I travel with Leah, I won't tell her because she fucking hates them. Because
She doesn't like Teslas?
I haven't really dialed in the regenerative braking yet. So it makes her nauseous.
Yeah, okay.
If I'm not smooth on it. And also I was trying to show her how awesome the self-driving mode is.
Yeah.
Literally the first time I turned it on, it fucking blew through a stop sign.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And she did not enjoy that. I am not allowed to use that mode anymore. Yeah. I'm talking within 15 seconds of turning it on. Fucking blew through a stop sign.
I think they're cool.
I think they're cool too. I don't have one. But like
Yeah.
I said, I experiment with them when I do rental cars.
My wife's had one for the last several years. So we've had one, and it's the perfect in-town vehicle
Yeah.
for carting the kids back and forth. You never go to a gas station.
You just plug it in at your house.
Yeah. You never go to a gas station. She doesn't really drive a whole lot. I mean, obviously she's like back and forth to school and, all the places that she goes throughout town, but she never has to stop at a gas station. They're extremely safe. You never actually, if you're using their regenerative braking, which is what she does, like you never have to. Literally, I was talking to one of my Uber drivers the other day, and he was telling me that he's got 200,000 miles on it. He's never had to replace the brakes. So it's the safest vehicle on the road. It's so the batteries and where they are in the bottom of it, you get T-boned, you get hit. It won't flip. It's really,
interesting.
Really safe. So if you have an all-wheel drive, which she does, like really heavy, safe car that you never have to put any maintenance into, we've had it for 3 years. The only thing we've had to do to it is there was like a piece of the steering wheel that started to like degrade.
Mhm.
So they had to come in and like schedule it like 3 months away and go replace the fucking steering wheel. But we've had it for 3 years. We've never replaced a tire. We've never replaced a brake. We've never replaced anything on that thing. You just drive it.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Have you convinced her that I can feel emotions yet? Because she cut deep.
She did say, she was like, Andy is so much nicer than I thought he would be.
What have you been telling her?
Well, these were the things that, I'm not caught flat-footed. Like I would always tell her, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like Andy's a super, super nice guy. Like I guess she's listened to the show a couple times. So she just,
That's
assumes you're an
unfortunate.
asshole.
Yeah, that's possible.
Like
That is possible.
But you know what actually changed her mind more than anything was Leah. She's like, she is so
because she's amazing. Yeah.
She's so nice. She's so amazing. So there's no way a complete sociopathic piece of shit would be married to.
All right. I can get behind that.
Yeah. So it's like, I think she does more for you than anything you could ever say. Because
for sure.
People can't spend time with her and go, oh, Andy's a dick. No, because obviously there's something inside of you that allows you to be nice and maintain a relationship with such an incredible woman.
And she'll fuck you up.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what Kate said. She's like, and she will fucking
Oh God, it's
rip
wild.
your head off.
It is wild to watch her fucking beat dudes' asses.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
God. I'd like to see her beat Mike up.
Glover?
Yeah.
I mean, if Mike is going to get beaten up by his own sneeze,
yeah.
if that dude
he's broken,
puts his socks on, he might fall out of bed. He's like the glass Asian.
Oh, dude.
He's like an Asian in a bowl shop. It's just
what else is going on up there?
in Kalispell?
Yeah.
Winter.
Oh
That's
my
about
God,
it.
Yeah. Is it snowing up there yet?
It is snowing. So the valley, the Flathead Valley itself doesn't hold a lot of snow, but the mountain ranges around it do. So the resort opens up in a few weeks. It's a little bit slow. Summers is banging up there. It's 2.5 to 3 million people who pass through the valley. Wintertime, December, January will be busy because of the ski resort that's up there. And then February, March, a little bit slow. And then the vacation stuff starts again. But I mean, nothing crazy, which is exactly how I'd like it to be. I think I've been home like 4 days in the last month.
Seriously?
Yeah. I mean, other than Thanksgiving, I'd have to pull up my calendar, but I think I didn't go more than a day or two without doing a flight. It was fucking ridiculous.
Where were you at? What were you doing?
Hunting a good amount,
Oh, yeah.
which I mean is still travel. But just busy.
Yeah.
You know the deal. Hunting is a certain time of year. You kind of
September.
slam it in when you can.
Yeah. Slam it in. I mean, so are you going to go back to archery next year?
Yeah.
Just
My shoulder it tolerated it well with Dudley, especially since I had to fucking draw back about 2 minutes before he let me shoot the animal.
Right.
It was legitimately 90 seconds. We timed it. I have pulled my bow back 6 times this year. One of those was for 90 seconds, which isn't like some heroic task, but I was trying to give my shoulder a little bit of a break.
Right.
And the deer walked in completely broadside at 20, and I was trying to pull through the shot. Its nose touched the decoy, and then it jumped and then just slowly walked off to like 35, which fortunately my second pin was at 35. But yeah, it was a good test of the shoulder stability and flexibility.
So how many elk have you killed this year?
2.
2. So 1.
A cow and then the bull up in Utah.
Okay, gotcha.
They were actually hitting me up whether or not we want to come up there. Did you fill your cow tag up there?
No.
Okay.
Yet. I went up with
Ty
you saw that.
Yeah, with Dave.
Sparks
Yeah.
and I went up there.
I think our tags are good up there
week.
through January.
Yeah. So we got to get up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. I can come down for a day. But I had the chance to go. I got a tag through Dudley for Iowa whitetail, which was cool. And then a friend in Texas invited us down and did some Texas deer down there. And Texas is what it is. It's mostly private property versus public. So, It is what it is.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you was, so I made this statement a couple weeks ago on Joe's show where I was talking about like if tier 1 units were released on the Cartel. Did you see that one?
I did.
What? So
I enjoyed you talking about shitting in your pants.
what do you think of my assessment? So be objective coming out of those units and say, okay, if given the opportunity, your previous unit was turned loose on the Cartel.
How loose?
Full unilateral decision-making capability.
Like peak
Yes.
GWAT?
Peak GWAT.
If they assigned the supporting assets that those units had during that time period.
I'm giving you all the units. I'm giving you all the assets.
The issue is the cartels have started going into legitimate businesses in addition to the illegitimate businesses that they have been in for a long time.
Okay.
Like I just did an episode of all things avocado farming. 80% of the avocados come from Mexico.
Yeah.
A specific area, which there is land usage agreements, the transportation of the avocados themselves. I mean, and that's one example. Cartels are getting into timeshare scams where they're running call centers. Do you target a call center with a tier 1 unit and go rolling in there with,
I'm more talking about like the Pablo Escobar types, right? The guys that are like.
Well, the Pablo Escobar types would last about 7 minutes.
Right.
If those units were allowed to be pointed in that direction. But again, how do you stop the influence that they have into the legitimate businesses? The cartels have learned, just like the, ISIS or ISIL or Al Qaeda, if you get into a room together, you're going to start hearing a noise in the distance that probably sounds like a fucking helicopter.
Right.
And then you're going to run, and then we'll figure out maybe we should do an offset. But the point being is that if you get together, you might have company. So they don't really do that much, right? So it's a disaggregate organization. It's totally solvable. They're still relying upon the same means of communication and coordination. From a tactical level, they wouldn't stand a chance. But I'm curious how you would get them out of the legitimate businesses that they're now ticked into.
Right. Yeah. So they've diversified their investments.
Illicit activity is only a portion of what the cartels are doing.
Yeah.
People think drugs and human trafficking, which is, of course, completely legitimate. But they are infested in almost every area of the legitimate businesses in Mexico as well.
So let's shift then into, because I've had this daydream as well, where if you're released tier 1 units on pedophiles, how long do you think it would take them to clean that up?
Inside of the U.S.?
Yeah.
So we're getting rid of Pasi Comitatus.
Yep.
Interesting. What level of proof do we need to actually?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Okay, so a suspicion? People don't understand the capability and the lethality of those units. They don't really understand it.
No.
The problem, I think, with the pedophilia one would actually be probably identifying and locating the actual individuals. My understanding is a lot of the stuff takes place on the dark web. For clarity, I'm a fucking idiot. And by saying dark web, that's the limit of my knowledge of what it is.
That's about mine. Yeah.
Yeah. What I do understand is that there's some level of anonymity that can be achieved through that.
Yeah.
But if you can be identified, people have no understanding. You know, the 3 FEA process, right? Find, fix, finish, exploit, and analyze. Finding is not really the mission set of a tier 1 unit. Fix, finish, that's a little different story. And then exploit and analyze, right? Your site sensitive exploitation and taking everything back and giving it to the analysts, also not really the wheelhouse.
Right.
But the fix finish, I don't know if there's anybody better at it.
I don't think there is. I've had that conversation a few times where, you know, people have said, well, but what about the, you know, Spetsnaz, or what about this, or what about that? I'm like, bro,
Probably capable, but I think very different.
The guys have been so busy for 20 years.
Yeah.
You have now foundational, it's foundational and generational knowledge from like tens of thousands of targets.
Oh, for sure.
And
combined between.
Yeah. You have tens of thousands of targets, and you have, you know, running indage from everybody from like SF to Ground Branch to all these other units. Like, man, you have a lot of institutional knowledge. I think you have probably right now, at least, I mean, a lot of the guys are retiring like right now, but I think you probably have the most lethal tier 1 force the United States has probably ever had.
If you put pedophiles on the menu, I think a lot of people will be trying to re-enlist.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I really do, actually.
Yeah. Like, oh, sign me up. Like, let's go.
Probably better that they don't let those units off the chain.
Probably. I think you'd have a lot of people that were like, oh, I'm out of the biz, you know? But you have a lot of people saying,
yeah.
I'm in.
Problem is, I'm not
clear.
a forensic person when it comes to the
You're not?
No. The digital trail that some of that stuff leaves. But I feel like we have some really smart people. So you might claim that you're out of the biz.
Yeah.
You still might get a knock on the door at some point in time.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting the time that we're living, because I think that we've actually flushed a lot of this woke propaganda down the toilet. I think this last election was like, this was a referendum.
I think it
I'm
might
not
be.
saying-
I
I'm
think
not
it
saying
might
it's
be
going away.
It
I'm
might be
saying
in the bowl. I don't know if
yeah.
it's circling yet.
I can only hope that this is on its way out. Meaning, this was a fad for whatever reason. I have no fucking clue where it came from. I have no clue. I mean, because I think America really got like hit sideways by this. Everybody's like, what? Hold on. What's going on now? Oh, so people are offended by everything, and we have to be careful as to what we say, what we do at any point in time. And we might be offending, you know, some obscure person somewhere that's like,
I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward where it came from.
where do you think it came from?
I think regardless of, and more often than not, I hear people talking about how oppressive the United States is from those who have never left the United States. We are really fucking lucky to live where we live. And yet 9/11 was horrible, changed the trajectory of the United States, changed the trajectory of everybody's life who served in the military. But we live in a pretty fucking comfortable space for the vast majority of people. And I think if you are constantly comfortable, you start thinking more about those things. And you will artificially create strife and drama.
Yeah, I think there's a rinse, wash, repeat cycle on agrarian.
What do they say? Like soft times make hard men make soft times. Yeah,
kind of like
it's self-licking ice cream cone. Yeah,
and if you look at the Roman Empire, and it's not as if I'm like some type of Roman Empire scholar. It's just
a lot of butt fucking.
Like, yeah, dude, there's like they get so focused on like androgyny and, you know, all this like gender and sex, and it's honestly, I think it's part of safety, to your point, It's like people get so safe, they get so secure, and they need to create some type of chaos and drama in their life. Like they have to have it, right?
Yeah.
It's like creating the Kardashians in your own life. And then they get focused on this other thing, which is like so arbitrary, but it is part of being a human being, which is procreation. And then they get really driven into this thing. And instead of, how do we develop our technology to populate Mars, not repopulate it, but to populate Mars, or do something, in physics that kind of like breaks the mold, and we're thinking about wormholes or whatever it is, they get focused on this because they're like, well, I don't know, that's an easy button.
I don't think a lot about wormholes.
I don't either. I don't think about them. I think about worms only in the context of they're really good lures.
I don't think the woke stuff is ever going to go away.
Mm-mm.
I
can only hope.
I think it's going to take a little bit more of a back seat than it currently has.
Yeah.
Which I think, my personal opinion, which again counts for dog shit, I think our country would be better for it if it takes a back seat as opposed to being on the front leading edge.
I think if you chopped out a huge percentage of your government organizations that reinforce some of this narrative and make it a lot less politically correct because people just have single point and maniacally focused mission sets that they have to fucking deliver on goals and objectives like every other business in America, I think a lot of it starts to take a backseat because they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't have time to deal in arbitrary nonsense, and I don't have any taxpayer funding that allows me to focus on this. So, hey, I have a limited amount of things that I can accomplish. I have to knock out the macros and not worry about the micros. I think a lot of this has been people really focused on the small shit versus focusing on the big shit. Like, to me, it's like you guys are like really point focused on things that shouldn't really be a debate.
If you live in a world where you have the ability to think about those things because you're not getting pressed, and I'm not saying that negatively, it just is the world that I think some people live in, then I think that's a natural byproduct of that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you go to Mars if they offered you a trip? If Elon was like, hey.
No, it's too far.
Yeah, but it might be dope.
No, it's like, it'd be less than like it's like saying, hey, would you go to the middle of the Nevada desert, the most remote area in the United States, if they offered you a free trip? I'd be like, I mean, yeah, I guess, but I wouldn't really be that excited.
I don't know if Mars or in the middle of Nevada are like the same,
They look similar.
On photographs, yes. You could be like an explorer, though. You could be the Christopher Columbus of Mars.
No, I like hanging out with my kids.
What do you think the odds are that Elon Musk dies on Mars? Meaning he finds a way to get himself there before he dies, of old age or whatever the fuck gets him.
100%.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think he eventually finds himself, and maybe he dies on the way, but eventually that thing like that coffin capsule like lands there, and he dies there. That's what I think.
I think he gets there.
Yeah, I think he gets there. By hook or crook, I think the guy's going to get there.
Where's that Corvette he launched into space? Where's that fucking thing now? I think
it's still circulating.
Oh, it's definitely out there. Yeah, I'm just curious where.
That was a Tesla car.
No, I think it was a convertible.
It was a convertible Tesla.
No, it was not.
It was an advertisement for Tesla. That's what he did. He launched a Tesla into space. 100%. Yeah. Check the cowboy knowledge.
Whatever.
Yeah. Heston
over there.
Cowboy knowledge. Yeah, I just Googled it.
Good job.
Have you been messing around with AI?
Yeah.
You use ChatGPT?
I do.
Yeah. What do you use it for?
Stock advice.
Oh, good.
I'll put in there, hey, act as a high-risk stock advisor. If you had almost no money but no regard for what happened to it, what stocks would you buy? It gets deep into like European energy stocks.
Really?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Seriously?
Yeah. It gets deep. No, I use it for I didn't use it much. It's amazing to watch my kids use it.
Really?
That's what actually got me. I was talking with, it happened last week. So my middle son was home from college for Thanksgiving, and he's working on building his credit. So he was asking me the best ways to do so. And one of my suggestions was a secured credit card. And so they wanted like $200 down, and they gave him a credit limit of $349. And we're sitting, he's like, well, if I spend less than $200, do I have to actually pay that back? Because what is the $200? I'm like, fuck kid, I don't know. So he goes on to ChatGPT, spits out the answer. It's your collateral.
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't know, because I certainly didn't, because I don't know if I ever did a secured credit card, because joining the military at 18 is a pretty good way to start building your credit because they'll give you a 30% interest rate on a fucking convertible Mustang right outside the gate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he uses it for that. He uses it for research in school. He's going to Montana State in Bozeman on engineering, learning engineering. I've watched my daughter use it for high school stuff. I've watched my older son, even just he started a car detailing business, looking at what are items that you should, you know what I mean? It's like just this endless or boundless, seemingly boundless ability to put in information or questions and get information spit out. I'll use it for podcast descriptions occasionally. I'll feed it a bio and point it at a couple websites. Dude, it does a fucking better job than I can.
Right.
As far as coming up with a creative way to describe a guest. Simple tasks. I have not dove deep. I mean, I know there are people out there selling masterminds, which by the way, I absolutely hate that term, but full-on classes on how to use one AI platform to interface with another AI platform to create business models and and I'm like, I don't know if I'm the generation that this is designed for. So, do you use it?
Yeah.
What do you use it for?
I use it for all kinds of shit. Same shit that you're talking about. But I use it for like, what was I using it for?
I use it for thumbnails too. I'll have it create images.
Oh, interesting.
I use Mid-Journey.
Oh, okay. So you're just plugging in your thumbnail or your imagery, and does it make modifications to it, or what?
You got to type in what you want.
Oh,
sometimes it's hard to get around some of the restrictions.
Yeah. I'll use it. So I'll write out like a paragraph. I'll say, hey, listen, this is kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Make it more concise or more professional.
Concise, put it together, and then it'll spit something out. So like if I'm I'm working a couple different contracts right now, so I'll go. It is really good at understanding like contractual obligations and things like that. So then you can say, okay, this is the rough construct for this, contract proposal. So I'll do it for contract proposals all the time. So plug in the actual paragraph, describe it, plug it out as a contract proposal, send it over to the legal department. They'll actually scrub it, reuse it, and then come back in. I love it.
It is an amazing tool. I hear a lot of people bitching about how kids don't have to learn anymore because there are videos of them they're amazing. And I'm actually, when I see them, I'm very jealous because I would have loved to have that tool as I was barely passing high school. But where it's listening to the fucking teacher and creating flashcards or notes or in real time answering the questions, like, holy shit. And I wonder, I mean, it's just a different way. It's a different tool to be able to solve problems. Maybe some of the baseline knowledge would be lost, but if you have such a powerful tool and you have mastered your usage of that tool, do you need that? I mean, I want a brain surgeon to know exactly how to take the tumor out of my head and not have 100%. To ask ChatGPT. But if I go to if like something's wrong with my car and the guy servicing it needs to throw it in ChatGPT to get a better diagnostic of that, I don't have an issue with that.
I don't have an issue with it either. I think it's going to advance the medical field by like 100 years, because you'll be able to plug in all of the different things that are wrong with said individual, with all the different health variables that are going to be coming out, plug all of that in, and then it's going to spit out saying, okay, this is the statistical probability of this health issue that you have is now this. I think you're going to be able to diagnose and get ahead of different health issues in a fucking way more effective way than you used to. I think people are going to have less surgeries. I think they're going to be healthier. I think there's always this like encouraging advancement within the medical field that allows us to live happier and healthier lives, which for me is like, great. If we can go from, the average age of American, we'll say is like what, 73 or 69, whatever it is.
I think 76.
So let's say it's 76. But for you and I, let's say we can extend that by another 10 years and go to 86 or even 90. But let's say the last 10 years, typically between your like 76 and 86 is not going to be they're not
your jello years.
Yeah. Your golden years, so to speak. Right. Well, they aren't so golden, right? Oh, walking around in a walker or a cane or whatever. Those aren't so golden, but
how old's your dad now?
He's pushing 80.
Yeah. My dad is a couple years under 80. And I tell him now almost every time I see him, like, I'm putting you in a home.
Yeah.
And I describe it. He's like, I'll never fucking go into those homes. Like, dude, you're not going to have a choice because I'll lock the fucking door from the outside.
I always tell my dad that I'm like, yeah, exactly. I'm going to put you in a home and I'm going to hire the biggest, hairiest dude to give you daily sponge baths. So this is your motivation to extend your life.
Yeah.
And or like extend your life and make yourself as healthy as possible. Like walk every day, eat right, and then just make sure that you die fast because you don't want to be in an extended living situation with me managing who's giving you your baths every day. Because I'm going to choose.
You'll be dressed
worst
up as
possible.
a fucking
circus
clown. Yeah. No, my dad's sitting there all just
ripped from Yellowstone.
You're going to put me in there? You know how I'm going to get out of there? I'm just going to shit in my pants. I'm like, Dad, that's what those places are for.
That's what they're for, man.
You know, like that's just a Monday.
Yeah. That's totally fine. They're just going to let you there. So like, that's kind of a constant joke for my dad and I.
I'm only partially joking with my dad.
Oh, I am too.
Yeah. My sister, her and I talk about it. We've discussed. I said, hey, the options are he moves back and lives with you or we put him in a fucking home.
Yeah, because she's a nurse, right?
She is a nurse practitioner. Yeah.
So, I mean, she's fine. Like
she voted for home. It's a trip, man. It's, God, it is wild to see him getting older. I never thought I'd be 47, you know, and I remember being younger and thinking that adult males didn't live past 40. And now I'm looking at my dad knocking on the door of 80. I hope I get there, you know, but I agree with you. I don't want this extended, protracted 10-year degradation where you're just with a walker with tennis balls on the bottom, eating applesauce and fucking Jello.
Yeah. Like slip-on shoes and like the whole thing. Like, I'm all good.
It's just one last wingsuit base jump at like 75. Let's just zip it up. Parachute not required.
Parachute not required. Like, go out.
I would rather go out that way.
Yeah, because it's like one and done.
Yeah.
You know,
my dad actually made me promise him that if he ever is either like bedridden or wheelchair ridden, that I am supposed to wheel him into traffic. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that tail end of life.
I used to think about this where, but this is before I had kids or anything. I was like, if I ever get diagnosed with some type of like rare and, you know, advanced disease where I know it's terminal, which is life is terminal in general, but I'm saying at a younger age, it's like, what would you do? Yeah. And I used to have this idea where it's like, I'm going to strap a deer carcass to my back and walk out into the mountains and
in like October.
Yeah. And just see what a grizzly bear, what it feels like to be eaten and shit out by a grizzly bear. And they're like, but that's super painful. Why would you do that? I'm like, it's not like I'm waking up the next day thinking, whoa, that was painful, right? It's like, Mom, well, let's go out like that. Let's see how that looks.
I think I would rub banks.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Banks don't have any money anymore though. Like, what would you
I think it would be
like
more about the
$100?
experience. You go to a doctor. Hey, you have a tumor in your head the size of that pour over.
Yeah.
You got a week to live. I'm like, where's the nearest Wachovia branch? I don't know.
Point me to the Wells Fargo, sir.
Why not? Right.
Yeah.
We used to sit around and talk about how awesome we would be at robbing banks. The most ridiculous conversations we ever had were around shit like that. Where should we put the machine gun?
Right.
Like, why? First off, why are we talking about this?
There were guys from from Second Ranger Battalion
who did it.
There were a group of like privates that actually came home and robbed a bank. Now they all got rolled up.
Yeah, of course. Oh, you're not going to get away with it.
No, and I mean, a private doesn't have like the technical nor the planning, like the planning and capabilities to do something like that. That's completely insane. It's funny because like Steve Ranella and I went out to Oregon and we were.
Yeah, the parachute guy. What's his name?
DB Cooper.
What's the prevailing theory on him? Did he actually go out of the plane? I've heard people talking about he might have stowed away on the plane.
No, he went out.
Okay.
Yeah, he went out for sure because the plane hit the ground. You know, they ripped that thing apart looking for him. Like there was no place for that guy to hide. It's not like he could hide in the fucking toilet or something.
Was it one of the older ones that had the ramp in the back?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Back ramp. But you know, you think about this. So at night, pouring rain.
Over the forest, right?
Over the national forest just south of Mount St. Helens, which is like the steepness to the mountains is like straight up, straight down.
Let alone the
really-
spears waiting
yes,
for you.
Spears waiting for you. And
What was he jumping? Was it around?
yes, so he's jumping a round parachute at night. So it was pull handle.
Strong.
So jump, pull handle,
Yep.
round parachute. And I forget exactly the nomenclature, but I'm sure that somebody will point it out in the comments. I mean, it's interesting because I actually bought the same parachute, took it out to Washington State where I met Steve, and then Steve and I hiked through the mountains and did this whole thing. And
When does that come out?
I don't know. It's going to be on Netflix. I think
Okay.
it's a hunting history is what Steve is calling that.
Did you
So-
guys solve the case?
Well, Steve and I had lots of conversations about it as we were going through the mountains. And I'm like, so it's at night in the wintertime, pouring rain. You know, the national forest is
Fuck.
south of St. Helens.
What was he wearing when he exited, clothing wise?
He was wearing a suit with dress shoes and a overcoat. And he's carrying 50 pounds of money, by the way. Sorry, 30 pounds of money. So he's like $250,000.
Yeah, don't steal valor.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. You get the details extremely right here. And I just kept thinking about it, you know, because they slowed down to just above stall speed, which even in a big aircraft like that is.
Oh, you're
is
probably
fairly
doing
fast.
180 probably.
Dude, yeah. So you're I don't know. I forget exactly what time it was.
Was
So-
he holding the money in his hand?
No, so he rigged it. So he rigged it just like you would.
A belly mount.
Yeah, a belly mount. So he
Interesting.
took apart one of the parachutes, built a rig on his rig. So I'm just envisioning this guy. Okay, so here's this emergency parachute because it's actually not. It was never really built for, we'll call it commercial or military parachuting. He at least had enough knowledge as to what type of parachute he needed to request, and he could take one parachute apart and then rig.
Familiar
The
with the
system.
systems
So
for
he-
sure.
He's familiar with the system. He rigs this money bag onto him. He jumps out at night. And I'm like, okay, so dude, you're jumping at 180 miles an hour, right? At night, pouring rain. To the point of which the pilots at night that were also trying to watch this aircraft, because he had military pilots that were dispatched and up in the sky, they couldn't see shit. So he's jumping into the fucking pitch black forest. And it's so funny to me because there's all these like people and a ton of people have debated this for years. And there's a lot of people that kind of run in tandem with like the Sasquatch theory and the DB Cooper theory. For whatever reason, they kind of like run in the same circle. And they don't have any parachuting experience whatsoever. And
Most people don't who comment on it.
and they're just like making these comments like, oh yeah. And I'm like, guys, if he landed in the forest, they're like, well, he tried, he knew where he was. Well, by the way,
How?
he threw an audible because originally he threw out like 3 different locations. They were trying to go to a certain location. He wanted to go to San Francisco or he wanted to go to Mexico. And then he's like, fuck it, take me to Nevada. So he didn't have a pre-planned route.
What year was this?
I don't know.
Was GPS even a thing back then?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how would he fucking know where he
They're
was?
saying that he spotted the reservoir and he was jumping for the reservoir. So now you're jumping.
Spotted it from inside a commercial aircraft?
Yeah, inside a commercial aircraft with the back ramp down, flying in pitch black rain, like pouring fucking rain.
In an environment where other planes can't see you,
Can't
but you can see a
from
reservoir.
fucking 100 feet away in the sky, but you can see the reservoir on the ground because that's the big black spot. By the way, it's all black because it's fucking forest and there's no towns anywhere
Yeah.
near that. So he jumps into the forest in the middle of the night. And if he did live, right? So my theory on this is like, this guy's probably jumping a chute that he hasn't ever jumped before. He's rigged up something that he's never actually rigged before. So how many jumps has he had? He's rigged up something he's never jumped before. He's jumping at 180 miles an hour. Like that guy's coming out of there like a bag of fucking trash. And
Yeah. You won't even make it to the bottom of the stairs.
no, dude.
So they used to, I know guys who used to use that particular aircraft and they would train on it. And it's like, you get halfway down the stairs and you got to send it. Because that thing is below the fuselage.
Yeah.
The air ripping around. You maybe hit 2 or 3 steps and you got to fucking full send that thing.
So that's my point.
Yeah.
He comes out of there. He's going to be flipping around like just to get stable
Yeah.
coming out of this.
Just pull on your back. It's fine.
Oh my God. So now pull, right? On your back.
Ugh.
Now you're going to,
Ugh.
my thought is this guy fucking lawn darted in that forest where you have moss and just like everything's
Oh,
wet,
if he actually went in
everything's-
terminal, it would have just absorbed him.
Yeah, I think so. And so you could put as many search and rescue guys out there as you want. And by the way, plus or minus, it was like 100-mile grid that they were looking for this guy in.
Oh, good luck.
Like, so 100-mile grid, hundreds of guys, they're all National Guardsmen. They're walking through the forest trying to find this dude. If he lawn darted in, you're never finding that fucking dude. And there are all these theories about how, some of the money washed up later and it was downstream from where he jumped, but they're not exactly sure where he jumped from. But at the end of the day, I basically was like, I don't care. I don't care, because even if he hit the ground and he wasn't injured, which I think is so let's say we play it out and he's injured. Now I'm in dress shoes, in a suit, pouring rain at night, in the middle of the fucking national forest,
He's gonna freeze to
with
death.
30 pounds of fucking money. And I'm trying to go up and down these like steep, deep, dark mountains. Like, bro, you're dead. You're just so dead. Like,
Did you guys recreate the jump at least?
Kind of. So I went out, and it's so funny because Steve and I were we went out to
Probably Kapowson.
Yeah. And they brought out this parachute because they went and found this parachute that was like the same parachute because they thought I was going to jump it. And I was like, I am fucking jumping that. What are you guys, high? Like, so here's a new round parachute that I've never jumped before with no ability. I got to run a front fucking because I can't cut away. So I got to run a front reserve. I got like 50 jumps. I'm like, I'm never going to jump this. No way am I going to jump this thing. And they're like, why?
You should have jumped it.
And I was like, because I'm never going to jump this. Like, there's no way I'm going to have 2 out in this scenario. By the way,
2 out can be a good time.
it can be. Yeah, it can be. This DZ, which is a really cool DZ, and like trees all around us. And the only thing I can think of is like, I'm going to go out. I'm going to just like try to pull this fucking handle, where you got like, you can't even cut away on this. So you got one handle that you can pull. Your main has to
Can't you pop
deploy
the cape
correctly.
wells?
No.
Did you have a hook knife?
No.
Did you take a fixed blade?
No.
You could have though. You could have gone double boot knives and just up there.
I could have gone out with cowboy boots and running shorts and double boot knives and cut away and then belly reserve. And
I would have jumped that thing.
You would have jumped it. You would have been fine because you have like 10,000 jumps. I have like fucking 50.
We need to get you jumping more.
When?
No, we need to get you jumping more.
This spring, I guess we could go down to San Diego this winter too, because that's like
San Diego is jumpable probably 310, 320 days a year.
Yeah, we just got to go out because it's so much fun. But this is what I need to do. I need to go back to like San Diego for like a week, and just jump.
Yep.
And then get really good.
Which is not going to happen in a week, but just.
Well, I get good enough there where you start to not get in your own head about it, where you're like.
I don't want you to get that good. I like the dossier and the folder on my computer that is a combination of you, Glover, and Tim tumbling out of control.
These like bags of trash. I love watching Glover because like and I'm not like some type of sky god whatsoever, but Glover, when he went out, it was like somebody threw a piece of sheetrock out of the back of the fucking.
There's like a G.I. Joe. There's like a G.I. Joe that was molded at some weird angle, and he just wrote it. Just na.
I think as we like get older, everything fucking hurts, and everything has to be like stiff as a board.
Yeah, but for skydiving, all you have to do is relax.
I know, but that's way more difficult for those of us that are maybe older and they come to it later in life than you because you started much younger.
I did start younger, probably. But yeah, you just got to relax.
I know.
I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen, right? You're going to pancake, maybe dual femur yourself. Maybe wheelchair it. I mean.
That's the other thing is like, I don't like injuries at all. Like, I don't like it, and it's fine if I break a fucking, a pinky or a finger or whatever, like I don't give a fuck about that. That's not what I'm referring to. But like shattering an ankle.
It's not the best.
Not the best.
Dislocating a
Kid Frid,
shoulder, not the best.
Not a good time. Like that
Yep.
stuff is not a good time. And then I can't go out and like play soccer with my kids, or I can't go out and like, run a 5K with my oldest or something like that, where it takes away from the things that are actually meaningful, which means I can't jump on the trampoline. I can't like play soccer in the backyard. I can't like be an active dad.
If you're going to hurt yourself, you just mentioned the device it's likely going to happen on, though.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Every time I've hurt myself in the last
Dude,
several
a trampoline, I think, has claimed more lives than skydiving ever will. Or spines, at least.
Yeah. My spinal compression on a fucking trampoline, like, because
Yeah.
I'll go out on those trampoline parks and I'll take my kids to those, and I'll be trying to do a front flip or a back flip
Come
or
home with
whatever.
fucking whiplash,
Just like
fucking
whack.
collar. Yeah.
I'm like walking around, I need a cane, I need to like put myself in a neck brace, but I also don't want to be the fuddy-duddy dad that doesn't do anything with my kids. So it's like, it's more important for me to be active and like engage with them and be fun and just suck up the injuries and like suck it up. Way more important to me to do that.
Minor injuries.
Yeah.
I escaped. I don't know if I've ever really hurt myself jumping. I've definitely hurt my ego jumping. I've landed in trees and fences and water and ditches. I almost got hit by a car. But yeah, the last year with the fucking stomach surgery and then dislocating my shoulder, those are the worst injuries I've ever had, all within 12 months. It sucks.
See, you got shot. What the fuck are you talking
I did forget about that. I forgot about it. I did forget about that. That was
those are the worst injuries I ever had. Wait a minute, I forgot. I got
that was
shot.
a long time ago. That was a long time ago. That did suck, a massive dong. But yeah, I didn't even really think about it at the time. I was like, all right, this sucks. We'll get better.
How long did it take you to recover from that?
I still have really bad nerve damage in my left leg.
Yeah.
I was functional again in about a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's quite a while.
Yeah. It was not awesome.
Did you have to like cruise around in a wheelchair or anything?
Only to the airport in Germany when we flew back on
That was it?
Delta. That was it.
Did you have like a cane or anything? Or did you just suck it up and walk with like...
I had a weird, I had drop foot for almost a year. So I had a weird plastic thing I would wear in my shoe to keep your foot elevated a little bit. But you could hear it. It flopped. Like
drum beat almost.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, whatever. I did get hurt doing other stuff, but then this last year was worse.
Oops. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the stomach surgery sucked. That was one of the most bizarre experiences I've ever had. Just the feeling of the internal pressure, feeling like it was going to blow out. That first day when they asked me to stand up, never once had I thought about the muscles required to stand up, and I'm laying there and they had zipped me up from, all the way inside my abdominal canopy, and I tried to rock forward. I'm just like, whoa! And they had to have somebody help me to a seated position, swing my legs over for me, get to a standing position, and then I fucking coughed. And I almost went straight to the floor, like fucking sniper shot to the chest. I'm like, this is it. Nobody gets better from this. This is the worst it possibly is. I think I made it, probably to where Heston is. They asked me to walk towards the nurse's station. And I had to hold on to my stomach because it felt like that movie Alien where it was coming out. It felt like there was an incredible amount of internal pressure forcing its way out. And that lasted for a couple weeks. Like if I walked, I don't think I had to, but I felt like I had to hold my stomach. And then, that sucked. Because you and Mike came by, I don't know, a day or two after. Did I still have the tube in my nose?
No.
Thank God, that was the worst. The fucking NG tube.
Yeah.
They pulled that thing out like starting a lawnmower, which I was appreciating. They literally hold your breath, bury your chin, and whack, fucking start that thing. And I'm glad that thing sucked. But yeah, that recovered from that and then, dislocated my shoulder, I don't know, 6 months ago. Not the best.
You did that in jiu-jitsu, right?
It's the gentle art, yeah.
Who did it?
A 15-year-old kid.
Good.
Yeah. I didn't think it was good at all. He was the color of that piece of paper in front of you because he heard it go in and out.
Oh, yeah.
As white as that sheet. And I'm sitting there holding I'm like, I think I'm okay. It's not your fault. I think I'm okay. I'm not sure I'm okay. We should probably go to the hospital.
So what did they have to do?
Nothing. They didn't do anything.
You just have to, you just have time. That's basically, you have to recover. With
it definitely tore some muscle on both the bicep and the pec, but the tendons survived. It cavitated in and out for sure. It was not an awesome sound because obviously my ear is right next to my shoulder. And as he pulled it, hearing
Holy
it go
shit.
out and in, I'll probably go down and see Scotty at some point down in CPI.
Yeah.
Just to see if there's something that they can do about it. But it's mostly muscular, but it sucked. That was a couple months off too. And that's why I was hunting with a rifle this year instead of a bow.
Yeah. God, I knock on wood, right? I haven't dislocated anything like that.
You're not
Like,
missing out.
I've been like super, like I've broken like both my hands, my right foot, my tailbone. Like I've broken a bunch of bones basically and got lots of stitches. But that's like,
I don't think
it's
I've
just
ever,
like normal wear and tear.
I've never broken a bone.
Seriously?
Yep. The surgery I had was the first stitches I ever had.
Oh, no fucking way.
Yep. It was the first time I was put under too.
Wow.
The doctors were asking me like, hey, are you going to fight us when you wake up? I'm like, I don't know.
Dude.
It's the first time for me too. This is a journey of discovery for us both.
I think I had, even by the time I was 18, I had like 7 rounds of stitches. By the time I was like
Really?
18. Yeah.
Never.
I
Not
had-
even when
I
I got
had
shot.
all
See, this
kinds
time
of
I'm
stitches.
remembering it. They just put Curlex on it.
Seriously?
Yep. And then the doc said when the scab came off, I could take a bath if I wanted to.
Oh. Wow, that's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Was
so-
it 5.56 or 7.60 by 39?
762.
No, I was just checking.
Yeah. Yeah. Not that it would be unheard of for American soldiers to be shot by 5.56. Little blue on blue. If you know what I'm talking about. Green on green, maybe. It's hard to say. Blue on green. It happens.
Where was that? Iraq?
Yep.
Where was it?
In between Fallujah and Baghdad.
What year was that? 05?
2005. February 5th, 2005.
So it's coming up.
I
20-year
guess.
anniversary.
Yeah.
February. You want me to send you something?
No.
Like a box of fucking, I'll send you a box of 7.60 by 39.
20 minutes ago, I forgot that it happened as we were talking. So trust me, I'm not going to make like a grand celebration out of
I
it.
think that's great. I think I'm just going to send you a fucking 1,000 rounds of 7.60 by 39. for
You know
your
what's wild
fucking
is I would
20-year
open that and I would
anniversary.
look at it and be like, why the fuck did somebody send me these?
Send me this.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
No, it's not something I think about really almost ever.
Really?
No. I mean, how much time do you think about your time in the military or with the agency?
Oh, I mean,
I have thoughts about it, but how much time do you spend like thinking about it or ruminating over it?
I've forgotten so much shit about it. Like
Yeah.
where it just doesn't, somebody else was talking to me about it and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We did do that. Or something to like spur.
Yeah.
But most of the time, like I really just don't care. Like I just don't really care all that much. I like being able to use certain things from an example perspective. Like if like somebody's asking me what were the things I learned from that, right? But I'm not going to like talk about individual fucking scenarios most of the time, other than like, hey, this is what I learned in that point in time, right? And like, I like to talk about these things where I'm like, hey, the first target I was ever on, we hit the front door and I fucking was riding my index finger on my fucking mag release and I dumped the mag and then I found myself on the roof without a fucking magazine. And I thought I was a really badass commando until you look down and you're like, who got on the magazine, man?
I knocked my
cool.
I knocked my nods off on our first target ever with the sledgehammer.
How did you do that? Were you like,
I was swinging a sledgehammer and it was tight. So I was like, wham, hit the door. For clarity, missed the door.
yeah,
Sledged right into the fucking door jamb. Did not check to see if the door was unlocked to begin with anyway, because it was fucking, we were knee deep in grenade pins and 60 link at the time.
yeah.
No, it was a fucking agricultural school. No shots fired whatsoever in MOP level 4. And the only reason I would love to say that I knew that it happened at the moment. We're fucking standing outside after I had ripped my gas mask off because I would rather have died of sarin gas than suffocation. And everybody's flipping their nods back down because we're going to go out to the helicopter. And I'm like,
They're gone.
oh, fuck. And I told my team there, I was like, hey, I gotta go look for something. And just ran back and they're fucking just laying there. Almost left a fucking set of PVS 15s just right there. If people only knew. Dude, I want to go. I've never talked about this, but I think it's time that I let people know that I am the Navy SEAL sniper with the most confirmed misses. I'm ready to claim that title. I can miss a shot like a motherfucker, dude. Have you ever tried?
I've tried. I've missed a ton of shit. I think it's really important.
I'm not even joking. I am dead serious that I can miss the fuck out of a clean sniper shot. What I like to do is I like to hold my breath a little bit because you can control your heart that way.
Yeah, right.
but you take it a little farther than that, and you're going to get a little bit of a massive bump because your body thinks it's getting ready to expire. Hold it just past that, and then the color will fade out of your vision, and then it starts to grad, and then just smash that fucking trigger back.
It's the same way I like to archery hunt.
Totally.
That's exact same
Pack
way.
the shoulder, hold the breath.
Hold the breath.
Wham!
Wait till the tunnel vision starts to sink in,
Yeah.
and then smash the trigger, and then preferably the arrow flies 3 feet above the back.
Totally.
That's like the story of my elk hunt in Colorado 3 years ago, where you've heard the old adage or the saying like measure twice, cut once.
Yes.
I measured once and
Cut
missed
twice.
once. And I had so much confidence in this shot, which is like, it's so funny because like I'd spent all afternoon stalking this thing. It was in this
Like
wallow. hours of my life, low crawling, getting in the right spot. Cause he's just ripping around in this wallow, like hours of my life, dude, just getting into the right spot. He's not going anywhere. He's having a great time. He's having a fucking one-man party in this mud hole. And he's like bugling and fucking flipping around. I can hear him the whole way and I can see him and I can hear him.
He's just
and,
living
like,
his elk life.
it was awesome. So I spent hours, low crawl. You know, I take a break because you're like, oh my God, this fucking sucks. You know, like, okay, like keep inching your bow forward, keep doing it. Fucking hours of my life.
6 inches at a time.
Yep. Finally get into a spot where I'm like, okay, I'm here. And there's just like a little bit of defilade. Like I can like, there's a little bit there.
You don't need much either.
No, I'm tiny.
You need less than most.
Yeah.
So you could stand up in it. It was like a 6 inch hole and you were standing.
I need more than a dwarf. You know, I
Yeah.
need more than a dwarf or an actual midget. I need less than the average man. And I am 3 inches taller than the average woman in Asia, which is also a trophy I like to throw around every now and again.
Yeah.
And I also weigh less than the average American female. So I think that that's a source of pride for me. That being said, I don't need a lot of cover. I get into a spot. He's out of the wallow now. He's out in the open. I'm like, fuck this motherfucker. I got him, right? I'm like right behind an aspen tree.
How far out?
40 yards.
Nice.
40 yards measured for 60. And
That's going to be a nice arc.
oh, so I'm like full draw. I'm like thinking to myself, this is so dead because he's quartering away. He's
Yeah.
not looking at me. I have all the time in the world. I'm at full draw, totally relaxed. I got all the time, anything and everything. Like, dude, I could have like made a cocktail and sat down for a while. It didn't matter. He wasn't going anywhere. But I've like find the heart shot, like focus intently on that little nook between the front leg and the
Yep.
body. You know, I'm like, okay, it's right there. Just pull it, you know,
Smooth release.
Smooth release. Like everything's just, it is so perfect. And I am so confident in this shot. I thought I saw the arrow go into it.
In your mind's eye, you saw like this
Yeah.
perfect 10 ring.
I'm like, this is fucking 10, man. I'm like, and then I'm like, done. This dude's in the freezer. And I wasn't even really loading my second arrow or doing anything. And I'm like, pull out my second arrow, put it in. And I'm like, God, he is moving awful well. Like, and there's no spot because I'm looking for the spot. He goes back to 60. And then I range him. I'm like, that's not right because I just ranged him at 60 and he just moved 20 yards. That's not right. So I range him again at 60. I'm like, that's not right. I just ranged him at 60.
Probably
And
should
so-
dial 80 to be safe.
And that's exactly what I did. So then he goes back to 80 and I realized then what I had done. So I realized right then what I had done. I was like, I ranged this fucking thing for the wrong range and I threw this over his back. But I was still in absolute denial. Complete and absolute denial. So then I found the arrow because I had one of Dudley's lit knock, or not Dudley's, but Dudley had built the arrows, one of the lit knocks. So I go find the arrow, fully expecting still that I probably have blood on it.
It was a clean pass through. You just didn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Pull it, just buried in the dirt, not anything on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, man. And then I ranged back from where that arrow was just to confirm. And then I went back to 60 and I ranged from 60 and I was like, oh, okay. So he was at 40. So note to self, measure twice, shoot once. Now, just all the things in your quiver of knowledge, I never just range an elk. Like one time, I don't range any. I like range.
I'm
3, 4,
neurotic
5
about it, yeah.
times. Like I'm like, God, man, it fixes that
Even the one I shot this year was at 92 yards.
with your bow. Oh no, you had
The
your
rifle.
Yeah,
We were
yeah.
in bow distance.
Yeah,
Oh, it was ridiculous.
yeah,
I felt ridiculous carrying a rifle.
yeah.
I mean, they were walking in closer than that.
Right.
And they wanted to bugle, but they could tell something was they're like, it was so cool because Leah was there. She'd never had that type. And Dove was there too.
Yeah, yeah.
And he would get up and wearing his fucking Vans. That was so fucking cool. Blah, blah.
Such a dipshit. God,
I
love that
agree.
guy.
Yeah. I like that he brings my sandals for me everywhere though.
Yeah. So Andy does this to Dove, who's the VP of media for us. He just tells him, "Give me my shoes," and then
Dove will take off his shoes.
Take his shoes off and give them to Andy because he hasn't quite figured out if Andy's going to choke him out or not. So he's just erring on the comfortable side of that equation, saying, "You know what? I'm just going to give Andy my shoes."
I almost did choke him out in France. He was trying to tap, and I was like, "No, there's no taps on the street."
All right, thanks, Andy.
Yeah, man.
Black River Coffee Podcast.